Coming up next on Utrgv-Tv, a protest at the Carson and Barnes Circus gains local attention on social media across the valley. Plus, a best-selling novel about an immigrant's experience has some local authors calling for more diversity in the publishing industry. And we have details on the famed bike that has been stationed on the Brownsville campus for years. We have this and more. Utrgv-Tv starts now. Welcome back to another Utrgv-Tv edition. I'm Miguel Cantar. Today is Monday, February 17th, and at the top of this week's newscast, a protest at the Carson and Barnes Circus gains local attention on social media across the valley. Here's reporter Elizabeth Mendoza with more on the story. Valley protesters gathered right in front of the Carson and Barnes Circus, this protest lasting about 6 hours. This goes after the circus has been accused of animal abuse for years.
They are notorious for animal abuse practices. They have over 100 violations with the Animal Welfare Act, which include things like not providing food, water, and shelter. There's no reason for people to feel like they need to support a circus that is using animal abuse practices when we have local ones that are much better.
Jacqueline Reed is just one of the 4 protesters. She tells us that there is alleged proof of the animals being tortured. Reed and others are planning to meet with the mayor of McAllen, Jim Darling, to put a permanent ban on the circus. The ban attempt is so that Carson and Barnes is not allowed to perform in the valley again. Reed created a petition to push for the ban, already reaching close to 5,000 signatures. McAllen is not the only city Reed is trying to reach out to. They have gotten in contact with all cities the circus is performing at. We reached out to the Carson and Barnes for comment, and this is what they had to say.
Don't be fooled, don't be misled, don't be misinformed.
Eric Bautista is a ringman for Carson and Barnes Circus. He grew up raising exotic animals.
They eat all day long. The animals are healthy, they're strong, they're never starving. They drink a lot of water. Elephants drink from 40 to 50 gallons of water per day. There's no easier way than to come out and see it for yourself. If you do not support circuses, that's fine. You love animals, come out, spend time with them. See what really goes on behind the scenes.
In documents obtained from the circus, it reads in part, "Our animals are inspected almost every day by local authorities and agencies. They are also inspected regularly by USDA and state authorities. Every 30 days, we are required to have a local veterinarian inspect our animals, and they are not allowed to travel without a clean bill of health." We also reached out to Carson and Barnes' head veterinarian to find out more about what kind of health screenings the animals receive, and are still waiting for a response. Push for signatures continue, and Reed also says that their attempt is to go to every city the circus is performing in. As for Carson and Barnes, they remain with the assurance that animals are receiving round-the-clock care and treatment as needed. Reporting for Utrgv-Tv, Elizabeth Mendoza. This evening, a best-selling novel about an immigrant's experience has some local authors calling for more diversity in the publishing industry. Rocio Villalobos brings us the details. Rocio?
This novel, written by American author Janine Cummins, telling the story of a Mexican woman living undocumented in the U.S., has prompted the creation of a group and social movement, Dignidad Literaria.
We're underrepresented and made to tell only certain kinds of stories and show up only in entertainment in certain ways, and yet somebody from the outside can come in and write a book and make a lot of money off of it, and people praise her and celebrate her book, and it's just kind of disgusting, frankly.
Utrgv professor and author David Bowles is a founding member of Dignidad Literaria and says American Dirt was so upsetting because it fails to accurately portray Mexican culture and promotes harmful stereotypes of the country. While he believes it's possible for non-Hispanic or Latino authors to effectively tell the stories of immigrants, he says Cummins got it wrong.
You need to live in and among those people for long periods of time. You need to have conversations every single day for months and months and years to really to get to understand people, especially when they're people that are not only not from your culture, but they're not from your country.
Oprah Winfrey selected the bestseller for her book club, and the McAllen Public Library was chosen to promote the book in collaboration with her book club and the American Library Association, but declined. However, they do have copies of the book available for checking out. A friend of the library, Bowles, explains why.
They're not keeping people from reading it. They just don't want to be part of a promotional effort for a book that many consider to be harmful and harmful, disrespectful, misappropriating of immigrant Mexican and Mexican American experiences.
After reaching out to Macmillan Publishers, Bowles and the other founders of Dignidad Literaria met with the president and staff of the company, as well as representatives from Oprah in New York for a 2-hour conversation on how to improve Latino representation in publishing. As much as the group disapproves of American Dirt, Bowles says they found a silver lining in the upsetting situation.
This is a dark cloud for publishing, and it is indicative of a bigger problem, but it certainly has served as a catalyst for having deeper conversations about what the real issues are.
Dignidad Literaria walked away with the agreement that the publishers would increase Latino representation in its editorial staff, as well as in the books they publish, and would come up with a plan on how to do so within 90 days. If interested in reading the book, Bowles cautions those unfamiliar with Mexico read it alongside the works of a Mexican-American author for a well-rounded view. In McAllen for Utrgv-Tv, Rocio Villalobos.
In 3 weeks, Dignidad Literaria plans to again meet with the publishers to discuss the progress that's been made. A seatless bike, chained up to a campus bike rack for what could possibly be years. Utrgv-Tv reached out to several campus employees to find out why the bike has not been removed. Here's our reporter Verilu Infante with more details.
He's a sturdy, strong-willed power, and, thank you, old Rusty.
If you've ever walked between the library and the land bridge on the Brownsville campus, you might have taken notice of a seatless bike with 2 flat tires attached to a bike rack. In a Facebook post, Utrgv biomedical science major Chris Cisneros named the bike Old Rusty. He remembers the bike being in the same spot for years, as far back as when the school was the University of Texas at Brownsville.
This guy who came in, and he had said that he doesn't want anything to be done with the bike because he remembered his dad back when it was still UTB. He asked his dad a little bit more on the information. He said he traces it back to about 7 years.
As we were wrapping up the interview with Cisneros, he looks back at the bike and notices a university worker taking pictures with it in a way he describes as having intentions to remove it. He approaches her and tells her the bike shouldn't be removed. We spoke to the director of parking services and the parking manager to discuss what they know about Old Rusty and if they have any intentions of having it removed.
I honestly don't have an idea who purchased it or why it's still there. It's a very unique situation because it has been there for a while, and I know there's some students that want to keep it that way. So as of right now, parking services, we're not looking into removing it or doing anything about that particular bike.
Though he says the department is not planning to remove the bike, they request students who take bikes to school to not leave them behind like Old Rusty.
We encourage that you bring and then you take your bike, unless you live on campus and you need to leave your bike parked. We do ask that you invest in a lock so that you can lock your bike to the bike rack, just for security purposes.
Reporting in Brownsville for Utrgv-Tv, I'm Verilu Infante.
Some changes to HESTEC this year. Our Utrgv-Tv contributor Lizette Chavez is in the studio with the latest. Lizette, what changes should we expect?
Neida, HESTEC will continue to promote the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math to students, but now in the spring, after taking place every fall for 18 years.
HESTEC first launched back in 2002. Last month, it started off with their Sea Perch Challenge and hosted the Regional Science Bowl on Saturday, February 8th. Director of Special Programs and Community Relations for University of Marketing and Communication, Karen Dorado, says that most of the events took place at the Edinburgh campus, but has now expanded to the Brownsville campus this year. Dorado explains why HESTEC was rescheduled to the spring.
We wanted to be able to design our events and implement events around what would have the most institutional impact for the university. And so we just needed a little bit more time to be able to work through those details.
The HESTEC website has the updated list of the events that are scheduled and how to register for those events.
HESTEC will be hosting events from now until April. In the studio for Utrgv-Tv, Lizette Chavez.
Last week, Utrgv received a $38 million gift from the Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation. This is said to be the largest single donation given to an institution of higher education in South Texas. The donation will establish Thrive, transform health research in the Valley and elsewhere, which will provide medical services in surgery and clinical genetics to the Rio Grande Valley. Allowing a research workforce, Thrive is set to help UTRGV achieve Emerging Research University, or ERU status. All of this according to a press release from the newsroom at UTRGV. Chief of Police Raul Munguia is saying goodbye to the campus community after working for UTRGV since 2015. Here's what he shared with us.
Chief Raul Munguia will retire on February 20th from the UTRGV Police Department after working for 3 decades in law enforcement. Before working for UTRGV PD, Munguia was the Chief of Staff for the Austin Police Department. He was heavily involved in the merging of 3 police entities into the city's police department.
I had an integral piece on that, being that I was in the recruiting unit. I managed that piece and tried to make it as smooth as possible. That transition went very, very smoothly.
And because Munguia was familiar with merging entities, he says becoming Chief of Police at UTRGV was not a challenge.
To merging those 3 entities together, I had already had, past experience with that, so I figured, I could bring something to this, in the formation of this police department.
Assistant Chief James Loya describes him as a proven leader.
He would provide me with ideas on how to address certain things that maybe he may already dealt with at Austin, and then how we can learn from that and not have some of those issues repeat themselves here.
Loya recalls when Munguia announced his retirement.
And I was like, wow, really? I mean, you're gonna do this? That's one thing with the retirement. Right? When it's time, when your time to actually retire.
Now that he's retiring, Munguia shares what he'll be scratching off his bucket list.
My wife and I wanted to do some traveling and stuff. We wanted to do this traveling while we can, still have our health and we can get around and we can enjoy it.
He says the UTRGV police officers, dispatchers, administrative staff, and public safety officers made the department what it is today.
They came from different institutions, and then to be able to combine them all and to turn it into a very effective police department. It's a testament to their commitment of providing a quality service to the UTRGV community.
Munguia says what he'll miss most about UTRGV is the people. There is still no word on replacement for Munguia's position. Reporting from Edinburgh for Utrgv-Tv, Neida Alcántar.
Here's this week's Utrgv-Tv Noticias en Español with Kenia Correa.
Muchas personas, entre ellos jóvenes de 18 a 24 años, usan aplicaciones para obtener citas o algún otro tipo de contacto físico con otras personas, sin contar el peligro que conllevan estos sitios de Internet.
De acuerdo con el estudio de pewresearch.com, el 27% de todas las relaciones comienzan en línea, usando aplicaciones de citas, por lo cual los contactos se multiplican y también sus riesgos. Aunque parece ser un medio de comunicación fácil y sencillo, debido a su manera práctica de obtener interacción con alguien más, el incremento del riesgo en enfermedades sexuales, acoso sexual y digital, robo de información privada, entre otras, ha incrementado. La directora de Salud y Bienestar Estudiantil, Cristel Escalona, nos habla sobre beneficios para los estudiantes y cómo pueden prevenir algún tipo de transmisión sexual.
Pues la mejor protección que tenemos son condones, y cada año los seguimos teniendo. Un día donde hacemos pruebas para ver si no han agarrado infecciones de esos tipos una vez al año, se llama Get Yourself Tested Day. En el Centro de Investigaciones de los Estados Unidos, ellos nos regalan el dinero para hacer estas pruebas gratis.
Para los jóvenes universitarios, hacer preguntas y tener una buena comunicación con tu pareja es clave para evitar algún tipo de desgracia y cuidar tu salud.
Al menos hablar con la otra persona sobre su pasado o su historia para evitar que tenga algo, y no es nada de qué avergonzarse. Es solo algo para mantener la precaución y decir que me amo a mí misma y tengo que hacer estas preguntas en lugar de simplemente hacer algo imprudente que pueda tener efectos a largo plazo.
Los jóvenes tienden a ser los más vulnerables ante esto, por lo cual es necesario darles la información debida para obtener buen uso de este tipo de aplicaciones.
Es importante tomar estas medidas de seguridad al usar nuestro dispositivo móvil, con el fin de evitar algún tipo de violencia digital o difusión de contenido. Reportando para UTRGV Noticias en Español, Kenia Correa.
Now to this week's police reports. On the morning of February 10th, an officer responded to the university bookstore at the university library after a theft of headphones had just occurred. A second officer located the woman suspect on the south side of the library, and upon making contact, she threw the headphones at the officer and ran away. The officer pursued the woman and was able to catch her by the Academic Services building. The woman refused to follow the officer's command. The officer struggled to place the woman in handcuffs, but was eventually able to arrest her. She was charged with theft, evading arrest or detention, and resisting arrest. Her vehicle was impounded by a local tow company, and she was jailed in the Edinburgh City Jail pending arraignment. The morning of February 12th, a staff member reported that a man working on replacing window glass on a vehicle was refusing to move his work vehicle to allow students to park. The vehicle was occupying several parking spaces in Lot B1. The staff member reported receiving a complaint from a student disturbed by his rudeness and refusal to move his vehicle. The man refused to move even after being asked by the staff member. The officer attempted to make contact with the man but was uncooperative. He was issued a written criminal trespass warning from all Utrgv properties and left the area without further incident. That's all we have for you today, but remember, if you have a story you would like for us to know about or know someone who's making an impact on campus or in the community, you can contact us through our social media or email us at tv@utrgv.eu. We have community and Utrgv news for you every week. See you next time.